ladies and gentlemen. I would like to call to order the January 3rd, 2011 Currituck County Board of Commissioners meeting. At 6 p.m. we had a work session with staff to receive an update on the progress of the proposed sign agreement. This evening, This evening we have Reverend Paul Bopp from the Truth Alive Church that will be leading us an invocation and our Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would stand, thank you.
Father God, we come before you tonight and we just say we love you. Father, I just want to start off praising you for your goodness, for your faithfulness, for your mercy and your grace, for your love that you pour out upon each one of us. Father, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for this new year. This time where people feel like they get a new start, a new beginning, Lord. And Lord, as we go into this new year, I just ask that each one of us will start to line up our desires with your desires, to line up our wills with your wills, to make your word the most important thing in our lives, Lord. Lord, I thank you for each one of the commissioners here, this whole board, Lord, and I pray your blessing and your wisdom upon each one of them, Lord. Father, as they go into this new year and start to make new decisions, Lord, I pray that every decision that they make will glorify you. Every decision will bring you honor, Lord. Lord, I pray for every person here today that they will conduct themselves in an orderly manner, a manner that shows who we are as a county, a manner that shows us as people who live in the blessing of yours, Lord. Father, just bless us and keep us, and let your hand of protection be upon this county at all times. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item number 1, approval of the agenda. We have 3 changes to tonight's agenda. I'd like to ask that item 6 be removed, item 7 be tabled and continue until our next meeting, and an item 9 titled Consideration of a Captain's PD for the Sheriff's Department added to the consent. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Item 2, public comment period. Ladies and gentlemen, this is time that anyone who would like to speak on an issue not appearing on tonight's agenda may come forward and do so. I ask that your comments be limited to 3 minutes, and Mr. McCree, our distinguished attorney, will be the timekeeper. Also, please state your name and address for the record when you come forward. First, we have Mr. Greg Gould. He signed up for item 3, so if you would wait until then, we'll call your name then. Next, we have Mr. Charles Berry. Please come forward. State your name and address, sir, please.
My name is Charles Berry. I live at 148 Edgewater Drive in Grandy. And I'd like to thank each and every one. We have our breakfast with the Homeowners Association at Walden Island the second Saturday of every month. And the second Saturday of December is set aside for Make a Child Smile. We donate everything to the deputies so they can take the kids out and hunt. Christmas shop. But this year we raised a little over $2,300 for that program. And I'd like to thank everyone for their support in that. And look forward to this coming year. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next we have Mr. Bob Henley.
Bob Henley, 1135 Water Lily Road. Mr. Chairman, I'm here to speak a few words on this ordinance amendment of signs, and I don't know if I'm out of order. Should I be under item 3?
No, sir. This is
okay.
Perfectly appropriate.
Okay, I'm here to represent the Ruritan clubs, the art council, the churches, the animal shelter, and all the nonprofits in the county. And the reason I'm here for you tonight, the only way that we have to advertise the things that we do in the county is by signage. Our club has 2 events, and you're probably familiar with those: the Wildlife Festival and the Silver Bells Craft Show. That's during the year. And the only way that we can advertise is do our signage each year. We put out our signage about 30 days prior to the events, and we take them up within 48 hours. That's a must with our clubs. And so I'm here to, we have no advertising budget at all, and that's the only way we get to advertise our events. 85 cents out of every dollar that we take in goes back into the community, primarily to the school system, through scholarships, awards to teachers, and all of those things. So every dime goes back into community one way or the other. We have signs probably in 4 counties in Chesapeake, but Currituck is our primary objective because most of our people for these shows come from Currituck. And so I'm here to ask on this probably some questions. And I know you had a work session tonight, and you're not completely through with this amendment by no means from what I saw tonight. But it looks like we come under the mass gathering or the special event. And I don't see anything in here about the requirements of a permit or a fee for those events. And primarily that's why I'm here. We're asking as a Rotary Club or an animal group or a church to be exempt from a permit or a fee that's involved in this. This would save us a lot of headaches. We have to go through the permit process when we use the schools, and we do that every year. So I'm here, and I'll be glad to sit down with the work session when you have it next time and explain a little more further to it. But I want to speak to you tonight and ask that when you consider this mass gathering, that you look at the nonprofits of the county that support a lot of the county work, and that you exempt those nonprofit groups from this ordinance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think that that was one of the topics of our discussion, Mr. Henley, and we still have a lot of work to do with that, and I think that most of the board shares your sentiments about for those types of situations. And Ben, would you like to add anything?
Yes, Mr. Henley. Currently, as proposed, and I don't imagine this will change, is nonprofits will not have to get a permit and do not have to pay a fee. So it's really just a matter of the number and size of signs. But I think that'll be something you'll find flexible for your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And last we have tonight Savannah
Cullable.
Cullival. I didn't want to murder your name.
That's okay.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me and allowing me to speak tonight. First of all, I would like to present a proposal to the board for Silver, Blue, and Gold maintenance services out at Currituck Airport. Recently, I met with your advisory committee out there, and they gave me a list of requirements that they would like to have. I have laid out a package for y'all with the business proposal, list of references. The only thing it lacks is the business plan itself and the financial report. Obviously, with a new business, those are things that are still in the works. As you know, most of y'all know, I'm moving from Edenton out here. That was my first choice, but the hangars were not available at the time when I first relocated back out here. I have 24 years experience. This is something that's been on the table with me and my family for well over 3 or 4 years now. So it's not something we took lightly. We even have MSDSs, we have SOPs, we have labor laws, we have federal ID numbers, state ID numbers, OSHA requirements. FAA is on board with this. The services, rates, market analysis I don't have. The LLCs we have. Silver, Blue, and Gold is ready to set up a maintenance facility in the Currituck Airport. We right now have 10 airplanes that we currently take care of on a routine basis. We would like to see that grow as well with the Currituck Airport. It was a customer-based request that we come back. Bear with me, I don't do public speaking very well. The issue was brought up with using Silver, Blue, and Gold in the Currituck Airport advertisement. We have no problem with that as long as we approve it first. And like I said before, we want to grow just as much as Currituck Airport does. I think we can do that as an airport and as a group together. There's a lot of potential for private aircraft maintenance and hopefully larger aircraft maintenance as they drop in. I just need y'all's approval. It's the bottom line. We've got everything in place.
We had this on the agenda for tonight, and it was tabled until a later meeting. The airport board wanted to get some additional information. John, would you like to speak to that?
Well, that's essentially it. The Airport Advisory Board wanted the information in order to make a recommendation to the commissioners.
And I believe I have provided most of the information that they need, short of a financial report and an actual business plan, which is in the mix. My son is currently in business college, and he's preparing all that. So we should have that within inside 2 weeks.
Well, they'll have a meeting coming up this month. I believe that you have another meeting coming. And Ms. Gilbert, of course, will be the ex officio representative of that meeting, and
Okay.
they will render a recommendation back
I'm sorry,
to the
will
Board of
that be
Commissioners.
with the advisory committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Just submit that proposal and everything to.
Well, you have the proposal in your hands right now.
Just make sure that Jim Elliott receives a copy of that, the airport manager.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll bring it to our meeting as an agenda item for
Okay.
review.
Do I need to attend that meeting as well, or?
It may be
That's-
questions.
That's certainly up to you, but I would recommend it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time.
I was just going to advise that you need a complete package. You need the rest of that information in addition to this, because our county attorney and manager are also going to have to go through it and look at it regardless of what the Airport Advisory Board's recommendation is. They've got to look at it, make sure it meets all the legal and insurance and all the other muster that would have to be.
Okay, we've provided the insurance certificates and so on and so forth to the board already. The only thing I question is the financial records, because I have been spending my own money on getting jacks and equipment for the hangar to get up and running. And there's not really a budget designed for that yet until I'm up and running, and I know what I'm going to be taking in on a routine basis. Now, like I said, I have 10 airplanes right now that I take care of, but
Well, I can address it. I think essentially what they want to do is assure themselves that there's sufficient resources available to make sure you're successful there. If you're selected to go in there as the FBO, they would want you to be successful.
Oh, I want to be successful.
But as the proprietor, as it were, since the county owns the airport, they want to make sure that you have the necessary means and resources in order to give you the best chance of doing that. So that's the reason for requesting financial information. Any commercial landlord would request the same thing of a tenant coming into a
And I have no
lease.
problem with that. I'll show you my checking account. I don't have a problem with that.
Those two gentlemen right there are the ones that you've got to satisfy with
Okay.
those requirements.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, I'll close the public comment period. Let's see, we have two other people, but they're later. Item 3, public hearing and action on PB 10-30 Eagle Creek Home Association, request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 7, Section 7.2, to establish an electronic informational subdivision sign as a permissible sign in Currituck County and to set development standards for that type of sign. This is a public hearing in action item. For this thing to pass tonight, it will have to be unanimous.
No, that's only unanimity is only required for ordinances that do not require a public hearing.
Okay, I should have thought you were.
Maybe be passed by simple majority.
Okay, all right.
I
With
gave
that-
him that erroneous information. I'll man up.
Okay, Mr. Woody, I will let you start. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a text amendment request, which means it is an application to change part of the Unified Development Ordinance or our zoning and subdivision ordinance. I'll point out that while this was filed by an individual from Eagle Creek, and obviously their intent is to modify the signage at Eagle Creek, as with any text amendment, this applies countywide. So when staff looks at it, we look at it beyond just Eagle Creek. We look at it for the entire county, which is the role that you sit in as a Board of Commissioners as well.
Is there anybody from Eagle Creek here?
Yes, there's, well, I guess there's one gentleman,
Who's on their board and
Okay.
making the request?
Mr. Gould.
Greg Gould from,
I don't think
Is
he's
there-
making the request.
He's not making a request.
Mr. John Bowman made the original request, and I do not see him here.
I think the commissioner's rules state that
No one's
the
here.
applicant or a representative of the applicant has to be present in order for an agenda item to be heard.
Yeah, okay.
Is that correct?
Yep, I remember us doing that.
That was a long time ago.
I know that's certainly been the practice, and certainly it would be to the benefit of an applicant to be present, to have their matter heard, and or to have the Board of Commissioners be able to ask questions of them to clarify any points. I'm not familiar with a specific rule that requires that. However, I think it certainly would be within the board's rights or prerogative if you decided that it is necessary, of course, to have the applicant here so that you might question them on their application if the need arises, and it would be appropriate, therefore, if you so desire, to continue the matter until such time as they might be present.
I'd make a motion to continue this matter until we have a representative of the applicant present to
Have a
discuss.
second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay. Item 4, public hearing in action.
Can I ask a question, just, and I'm learning here. This gentleman here, are you here tonight? Can I ask what his position is tonight? Or is it because it's continued, we just...
That's the chairman's prerogative.
We'll let the gentleman speak.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Gould, 214 Eagle Creek Road. I don't do very well at public speaking either, but I'm opposed to this ordinance change for several reasons. An electronic LED sign would create a commercial atmosphere in a residential setting. Any affected subdivision would become very different in character than others in the region. It's not clear that potential home buyers would find such a sign attractive, and this would add more uncertainty to home values. As for this specific subdivision, community approval has not been demonstrated. The lot owners have not been notified of the cost and have not approved the funding. An electronic sign is not required to state which day the board meets each month, and there are more appropriate products available for this purpose. Please follow the Planning Board's recommendation and deny this request. Thank you for your service. And y'all keep warm and stay safe.
Would you state your name and address again, please?
Greg Gould,
Okay.
and 214 Eagle Creek Road, Moyock.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, were his remarks, do you have your remarks written?
Yes.
Would you submit them to the clerk, please?
Give them to Ms. King, please.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had a question for Mr. Woody, too. I was looking at the planning board minutes. I assume you're probably familiar with that, or are actually looking at the notes on here that, to the above concerned, staff recommends denial of the proposed text amendment. The next sentence says, planning board recommended unanimous approval at the December 14th meeting.
It's denied. It was denial.
That's incorrect. The staff as well as the planning board recommended denial
That's what I
of the
assumed
request.
from reading. Thank you.
Yeah.
Item number 4, public hearing in action. PB 10-29, Mark Minor, request to amend the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 3, Section 3.5.4, and Chapter 17, Section 17.2, definitions to modify the criteria in which a bed and breakfast inn is established. Mr. Woody.
And I do see Mr. Minor in the audience.
Yes.
I do know him.
He signed up.
This request by Mr. Minor is intended to allow bed and breakfast establishments and single-family dwellings built since November 5th, 1984. Currently, our ordinance has a date restriction that says in order to establish a bed and breakfast, your dwelling must have been constructed prior to November 5th, 1984, making it somewhat of an older dwelling, not necessarily an historic dwelling. Staff did some research, and we are not exactly sure why that date was initially established in 1984. We think that's just the date the amendment was initially approved, so we don't know the context or the history of that date. Well, a lot of times bed and breakfasts tend to be historical structures that are converted or updated. They don't always have to be an historical structure. From our perspective, it's just a land use. It's just the way our properties ran and managed. So whether it's built in 1930 or built in 1990, it still has the same land use effect. We took a look at this. Currently, there are some regulations for bed and breakfast that limit, that require that the entrepreneur, the operator of the bed and breakfast, live there and manage it. So you have an on-site person that's there. It limits the number of people that can report there for work. It requires that any meals served be breakfast, what can't operate as a restaurant. So there's already some safeguards in place that control bed and breakfast. And probably the biggest safeguard is that even if this is approved and newer structures can be a bed and breakfast, they still have to receive what's called a conditional use permit, which means if I want to open a bed and breakfast, I still have to go through a public hearing. The neighbors are notified. So that process remains in place, and that still has its integrity as a process. So what it means basically is if you approve this, any house in the county would be able to apply to be a bed and breakfast, whereas right now they have to be older than 1984. Probably the area this impacts the most, and we looked at this, is I would say the majority of the housing stock in the Outer Banks is probably built after 1984, so this would allow a lot more applications for bed and breakfast over in the Outer Banks. We looked at that, and we don't really see a negative to that because, quite frankly, most of the houses have people in and out every week anyway as rental guests, so we didn't really see the disadvantage to that. And also, it still requires a public hearing. In Mr. Minor's case, the house he actually has in mind is on the mainland in the south end of the county. That said, you still consider the text amendment for the whole county. Staff does recommend approval of this minor change. The Planning Board heard this at their December 14th meeting, and they too recommended unanimous approval of this change. It appears to be consistent with the land use plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Woody?
I had one. I think you clarified that this is considered a residential use as opposed to commercial use.
A bed and breakfast is, that's correct. If the bed and breakfast has more than 5 guest rooms, it does has to apply with a different type of building code. But as far as Currituck County goes, we classify bed and breakfast as residential uses.
Any further questions for Mr. Woody? If none, okay. Mr. Minor, if you would come forward, please.
You need to open the public hearing.
Open the public hearing, and Mr. Minor, if you would come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Mark Minor. I reside at 116 Swan Circle, Point Harbor. I was only wanted to speak if necessary.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's necessary for me to speak right now. If there was any questions, I'm here to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Minor? Hearing no questions. Anyone else like to speak to this issue? Seeing no one else to speak, I'll close the public hearing and ask the board for
approval.
Move for approval. Second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, no. Ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Item number 5, consideration of identity theft prevention ordinance. Mr.
I'll present this, Mr. Chairman. Almost 2 years ago, entities that were covered by this Federal Trade Commission rule were to have adopted regulations to put into place a program to identify and to prevent identity theft. That is also known as the red flag rules. You may have heard it denominated in that way. Over the last 2 years, the Federal Trade Commission continued to delay implementation of the rule as they continue to receive additional comments and determine what entities actually would be covered by the rules. And now they have issued their edict that the rules must be in place by actually January 1. We are a covered entity. Currituck County is a covered entity because we open accounts and allow persons credit in the sense that we allow individuals to pay in arrears for certain services provided by the county. That specifically is related to utility system accounts, of course, but also might be related to other departments such as the tax department when it enters into a payment program to allow for a delinquent taxpayer to make payments on their account over a period of time. What this program does, as provided by the Federal Trade Commission requirement and rules, it establishes an identity theft prevention program in Currituck County for, in particular, our departments who maintain and establish accounts, basically for credit. It provides for a process how we will open those accounts and what ways we will seek to ensure the protection of identifying information of persons so that it might not be retrieved or stolen or used by someone inappropriately. The policy or the ordinance would also provide for the red flags that our departments that have these accounts will need to be trained and will be trained on what they need to be identifying, credit report issues, things of that nature, and what they are to do in case they find that there's a red flag event occurring with regard to someone's account. And then lastly, we were to have an ongoing monitoring, at least annually, a monitoring program to ensure that our program is still up to date. And we are to lastly require any vendors with whom the county does business and who will also, on the county's behalf, establish accounts or credit relationships with citizens to have the same type of policy in place as well. That's basically, in a nutshell, the requirement. This proposed ordinance does meet the minimal requirements of the Federal Trade Commission rules. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Anyone have any questions of Mr. McCree? Hearing no questions, do I have a motion?
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Passes. Okay. Item 6 was tabled. Item 7 was continued to the next meeting. Item 8, appointment of 2 at-large and 1 District 4 appointments to the Airport Board. Let's see. Mr. Martin, you have an appointment, sir.
Yes, I do. Miss Barbara Courtney.
Okay. This is Barbara Courtney. Do I have a motion?
Just do them all.
Do them all at one time?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. O'Neill?
Ken Norris.
Ken Norris? Mr. Etheridge?
I'd like to reappoint Mr. Ed Ish.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that these nominees or appointees be accepted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item 9, appointment of commissioners to the following boards. What I'd like to do is read each commissioner's name and then the boards they have expressed an interest in serving on, and have one motion, 1 second, and vote to cover the package. Find my list here now. Yeah. There we go. Okay, Commissioner Gilbert, Recreation Board and Airport Board. Commissioner Rohr, Workforce Development Committee, EIC Board, and Albemarle Commission. Commissioner Etheridge, Albemarle Regional Health, Extension Advisory Board, Albemarle Mental Health. Commissioner Martin, COA Board, Senior Citizens Board, Juvenile Crime Prevention Committee, and Mr. Martin will also make you our nominee to the Albemarle Hospital Board, but that will, Paspatank has the authority to do that appointment.
No, I'm on the Albemarle Hospital. That's not up for appointment.
I thought we had two people on it.
No, COA you have 2. I'm appointed to COA by the governor, and I'm appointed to Albemarle Hospital by Pasquotank County by a term as decided by Pasquotank County. My term is not up till the end of this year.
Excuse me. COA will be the other one for you, Mr. Martin, and okay. Commissioner Petrie, Social Services Board, Whalehead Board, and the Whalehead Drainage District Board, Commissioner O'Neill, Economic Development Board, Tourism Board, and myself, Fire and EMS Board, and the Albemarle Solid Waste Commission, or Albemarle Solid Waste Board.
Move for approval as submitted by the chairman.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Consent agenda. Item 10. Do I have a motion to approve?
Move for approval.
Second. Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Commissioners report. Mrs. Gilbert.
First of all, I'd like to just thank all of the well wishes, or excuse me, the holiday wishes that I received during the holiday season. I certainly appreciate all of the holiday wishes. Second, I would like to announce that this Sunday is the second Sunday of the month, and the Moyock Fire Department will be having their monthly breakfast from 8 until 10:30. They have switched this from Saturdays, and it will now be the second Sunday of each month from 8 to 10:30. I would also like to invite anyone who is interested to visit the airport. Jim Elliott is our representative for the EAA organization, and it's a great organization to learn more about aviation, so I would encourage people to visit him at the airport if they're interested. And that's all I have.
Mr. Petrie.
I have nothing to report.
Mr. Rohr.
Well, I'd like to wish everybody a Happy New Year. I haven't seen all of you since that happened, but I'm sure everybody, yours was as nice and peaceful as mine, probably enjoyed it. There are some things coming up this month. We're rolling our sleeves up and getting to work with this new crew up here. We've got a retreat coming up where we're going to discuss a lot of things of significance to the county. So any of you have any ideas, be sure to get them into your relative commissioners, the ones you talk to all the time anyway. We also, all of our new folks, and I think all of the old ones too, are going to go to government school to learn all the things that we're supposed to be doing and shouldn't be doing. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's a great refresher for all of us. We're intending to get a lot accomplished this year. I think with Chairman Eilid's leadership, I believe you're going to be well pleased. I hope so. We certainly expect to hear from you if you aren't. But that's all for now.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Martin.
Yes. Last Thursday at the Rotary Club meeting, we were discussing, the Christmas season and everything, and we had a moment of silence to recognize those young men and women who are serving on active duty, and possibly in different, very volatile places of the world. And we thought that it'd be nice that if we could identify those people who live or who are from Currituck County, especially during the season, the holiday season, and special occasions. And from that, it was suggested that perhaps we identify an individual who would be willing to lead this effort on the part of Currituck County, Mr. Bob Kohler, who's been very active in the county in many, many different facets, agreed to take that on. And as such, I was asked if I could get on the government channel, if we could put a writer on there to solicit the names and addresses of the men and women who are serving from Currituck and make that available. And then during these special holidays, we could recognize them in some way or other through different efforts by different groups here in the county. And with the consent of the other commissioners, I would like to do that and put that out on the government channel so we could identify them.
Mr. Chandler, is that appropriate for the government channel?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Also, I would like to remind the commissioners and everything, if you have an interest, the Hampton, Virginia's VA, we will have a groundbreaking ceremonies that will take place in Elizabeth City for a new Elizabeth City mental health building. It will take place at 10 o'clock on Thursday, on the 7th, I believe that is.
Friday.
On Friday, on Friday at 10 o'clock. And if you're in the area, the location will be at 1845 West City Drive in Elizabeth City. So join us and other veterans who will be there to commemorate this. And very happy New Year to the people who are listening and to my fellow commissioners and the staff.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Etheridge.
First of all, Happy New Year to everyone. And I'd like to ask if the county manager and the county attorney in the next few days can put together a list of areas that we might want to go to the General Assembly with local legislation this time, so we'll have it available for any of us that has ideas to go to the General Assembly with, that we can discuss it at the retreat and begin working on it, because General Assembly goes into session at the end of this month, and it's going to be a very interesting session. The last meeting I was in Raleigh, they're talking close to $4 billion short, the state is. So we'll have to be very judicious in what we do and how we do it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Mr. O'Neill.
I'll dovetail on what Commissioner Etheridge is saying there. I think the first thing we need to do is ask them to do no harm. Yes. There's talk about counties such as Currituck that have been physically responsible over the years, looking at how they can push more stuff down on Currituck, or I've even heard talk of, I don't want to say season fund balances or whatever, but there has been talk about how the counties that have excess money, that have been physically responsible, that maybe they don't need it. And so I think the first thing we need to ask them is do no harm for their recklessness over the last several years. The next thing I would like to, Mr. Martin brought up something that I was going to discuss. We had the committee that met to recognize the veteran for the state park, and we did there was a nice little article written on it, and there was a lot of veterans that didn't qualify. But we have the Veterans Memorial Park in Coinjock, and I think it would be nice if we had some type of marquee or some type of monument or something where we listed all of the people that have ever served in the military in Currituck County, whether they're deceased or whether they're active. I think that's apropos for the Veterans Park. We have a lot of young men and women that are actively serving now. We've had some that have served in previous wars when we had the the Vietnam Moving Wall. We had several people that lost their lives from Currituck County. They're not recognized anywhere in the county. We've got a little plaque out here from, is that World War II, Mr. Scanlon?
Yes, sir.
But I think it would be nice if we have a centralized location at the Veterans Park where we listed all the names of all the veterans that are serving now. Well, they're not veterans if they're served, but all the veterans, and solicit names from the people here in Currituck County to take it one step further, what you're talking about, plus with the state memorial.
I think it's an excellent idea. I definitely go along with that.
Mr. O'Neill, if I may, what if we looked at maybe there's going to be areas out there we're going to have walkways and stuff, and we look at walkways of being a brick with that person's name on it, like a lot of areas do.
That's fine, but some significant way that we recognize those that come before us. If we're not vigilant with their march against totalitarianism, we're not going to remain free. And I want to recognize those that have done their part to keep us free.
Maybe we can partner some with the Veterans Memorial Park, because that's what they do. They got those bricks out there, because I bought one for my dad. It was next to nothing.
Well, I think it would be something that Mr. Martin would be perfect for talking with Mr. Kohler, the Legion, or whatever, absolutely, and coming back with a way to recognize them. I don't think that I know how to do it. I just think that there's...
Absolutely, I would...
if the board concurs, I would like to ask that we allow Mr. Martin to meet with those gentlemen and ladies and find a way to recognize them at the park.
Do we have a motion to do that?
Yeah, I have a question. You talking about people who paid the ultimate price plus honorable discharge veterans like Mr. Martin also?
Yes, Veterans Memorial, whether you're deceased or whether you're still
Honorably discharged.
Yes, because we had several people that were put forward to be recognized that have some
Absolutely.
remarkable stories as well.
Right.
I know of a man lives on Spot Road. His wife was told that he was killed in action, and she didn't know for like 30 days or some long amount of time that he was not deceased. Mr. Crikes, Fred Crikes, and he's got a list of a bucket full of medals that he earned. And I just think we should recognize those kind of people.
I totally agree. But one more question: are you talking about people born in Currituck County as well as the people who currently live in Currituck County that were born somewhere else?
Certainly.
Okay. I think I'll make a motion that Mr. Martin proceed with that.
Got a motion, second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Good job. I look forward to doing it.
I just, as was said a while ago, I hope everyone had a very nice, blessed Christmas and a happy New Year. And again, I look forward to working with everybody this next year as well, staff and the new board, and hopefully we will get some good things done. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn as the Currituck County Board of Commissioners?
I'd like to make a motion that we close the meeting.
And reconvene as
And
I'm going to. I'll take care of
tourism.
that just a second. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay, now do I have a motion and a second to reconvene as the Tourism Development Authority?
Motion to adjourn to reconvene Tourism Development Authority.
I second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Item 1, consideration of buy local campaign. I think Mrs. Nordstrom, you're going to come talk to us about that.
Good evening. Commissioner Rohr just said a minute ago he was looking for ideas, so I guess I'm here tonight to talk about an idea and to also talk about the budget. Currituck County is very fortunate in our occupancy tax budget, which is, of course, how we operate our tourism department, and we're fortunate in the promotions part of our budget to have a pretty good surplus. So at our last Tourism Advisory Board meeting, it was brought up by the board members that they would like to have us come before the Board of Commissioners seated as the Tourism Development Authority and ask for, I guess I'm going to kind of talk about item 1 and item 2 because they're intertwined, if that's okay, but come to you and make a request for some additional marketing money. One piece of that is we had a work session with the advisory board, and one part of this request, an idea I brought to them, they agreed with, and so now I'm bringing the idea to you tonight, and that is to have us put together a comprehensive buy local campaign. Now, I know Commissioner Rohr and several other people, some community folks, all came together and have worked on trying to communicate that message to our citizens, not really to our tourists, because we don't want to tell them to buy local because we're telling them to go home and shop. So that's not our target audience for this campaign. This would be for our citizens and to encourage them to spend money in Currituck County, because as you know, any money that's spent in the county benefits us. It benefits our businesses, it benefits our citizens, it benefits our tax base. How we're tying that in with tourism, when I came and talked to the county manager about it, he asked me, how do you tie this together with tourism? And what I said was, if you look at the vacationers who come here, they're coming to stay in our hotels, in our vacation rental homes. But they also come here for the restaurants, for the shopping, for the activities, for the attractions. And if, as you guys know, our economy has suffered so bad in the last couple of years, we've lost a lot of businesses. And I feel like, and the tourism board agreed with me, if we don't do something more to really take this idea of buy local to the next level and put an incentive behind it and aggressively market this to our citizens, we won't have any of those businesses left, which of course is going to diminish the quality of our vacation destination if we don't continue to have things for people to do other than just coming and staying. They're looking for these things. So the proposal tonight, I'm not coming to you with a really hard set idea of how to do this. I wanted to bring the idea to you first, to take it to the next level, to now go with your approval to receive some fundings out of our occupancy tax, but out of our fund balance, to use this money to now meet with our business people and meet with some citizens, get ideas from them. They're the ones, the businesses are the best ones that can tell us how we can help them. To put together a focus group, meet with these folks, get their ideas, and then put together a very comprehensive campaign to promote this to our citizens. So that, I guess, in kind of a nutshell, is the buy local part of it. Would you like me to go on with the second item, and intertwine them together a little more?
It's fine. Yeah, you can.
Okay. I believe you guys have a copy of the proposed additional marketing funds, which includes not just the Buy Local campaign, but other advertising that we would like to do. And I guess to give a little history to the more newly seated commissioners, the last 2 years, the Tourism Advisory Board came to you as the Tourism Development Authority and asked for some additional money out of the fund balance to more aggressively, particularly promote the summer season, because as you know, the economy, travel, especially not this past year, but the year before, travel was really going down. Our revenues went down in occupancy tax, not tremendously, but everybody was very much struggling. So this board, for 2 years in a row, did approve additional money. We put most of the money, and as you'll see in this proposal, again, a big part of this into online advertising, which is where most people are finding out about Currituck County anyway. That's our biggest outlet for advertising, is online. So we did that 2 years in a row, and the numbers went down, but not as bad as what the national average was year before last. This past year, this past summer was a fantastic summer, and our revenues were back up. We've talked with a lot of the accommodation people, our businesses. They felt like the additional money helped them tremendously to be able to get their rooms booked and their vacation rental homes booked. So in the proposal for the additional marketing, again, we're asking, this time it's for a total of $344,000. As you'll see, beyond the online advertising, we would like to give a boost to our television production, to our commercials, which are primarily aired in the Mid-Atlantic states, which is where primarily our vacationers are coming from. Now with YouTube and social networking and how big that is, how much people look to the computer, just not for information, but to watch the videos. The commercials would also be aired through our website. And also through eBlast, which are direct contact with vacationers. We did, this past year, work with the Outer Banks Visitors Bureau and some of our golf courses to really beef up our promotion of our golf courses, and that was successful, and part of these funds we would like to do with that as well. And as I mentioned, the Buy Local campaign, and then also some additional money for events promotion. Events, you've got a big event coming with the dedication for the 4-H for the Rural Center, and also for an event at Wellhead Club Marshgrass Music Festival, which should be a pretty good event, and some other events. Now that we have a full-time event coordinator, we're getting a lot more requests for assistance in marketing events, and there's a lot more events that are going on, which are a great draw for tourists to our area. So in a nutshell, I guess that's kind of how we tied it all together. And
covers 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, just about.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
How is the best way to come up with a database of some sort that will include all small businesses within our county? I keep hearing about there's numerous ones that we don't even know about, that don't get any attention. I mean, is that something that we can contract with the chamber? Is that something we need to do ourselves? I mean, from your perspective, how do you see that? I want to make sure we're promoting the mainland as well as the Outer Banks.
Absolutely.
I think that's
and
important.
That was one of the things that I said to Dan was, our mainland businesses in particular, because if people don't stop at our mainland businesses and they keep flying by, and our locals aren't there to support the mainland businesses, we're going to lose them. And then where are the vacationers going to stop to eat, get gas, all the things they do? I know Peter's here, and he could probably answer too with the database, but we're really looking at this Buy Local campaign as being a three-way project. The Tourism Department, Economic Development Department, and the Chamber of Commerce all working together on this. I feel pretty confident, and I guess Peter can answer, but I feel like in between the database that we have for tourism, the database that Peter has, as well as what the Chamber of Commerce has, I think we've pretty much got Currituck County covered. Now, of course, businesses are constantly, as we're saying, going in and out of business. I know that's a challenge for us all the time. It's to drive by and find out who's open. And I think if we really get out and aggressively market this more, hopefully we can catch some of those, but I don't.
Well, just to... Let me ask one other question, please. In that same vein, do you have a, off the top of your head, figure on just what kind of money that tourism department spends by buying locally in Currituck?
Oh, wow. I can't give you a dollar figure, but I can give you a list. About 2 weeks ago, I sat down with the department and I said, let's talk about this as a department. How do we spend locally? And we brainstormed and came up with, I'll be glad to pass this to you, a list of just, I didn't do it by particular business names, but just did it in general. Like all of our television production is with a company that's in Moyock. We do some work online, and we're doing even more with a company that's located in Currituck. We try to buy as many supplies as we can in Currituck. So I can't give you a dollar figure, but I can tell you we make every effort we can to spend locally. And I know that's one thing that this board, I believe you adopted a policy a few months ago that is getting the departments to make sure that we are spending local as much as we can.
Thank you.
So may I follow up on that?
Sure.
The budget amendments tonight is $344,000, of which $200,000 goes to YouTube, Google, Facebook,
A
et cetera.
huge part of it goes straight to the internet provider. It goes to Facebook, which Facebook now has overtaken Google. Y'all have probably heard that. It goes directly to them. So Google and Facebook, it seems to be taking over the world.
But of the $144,000 left, only $18,000 of that goes to the provider out of Virginia Beach Cinema. All of the buy local $30,000 goes directly to Currituck vendors.
As much as we can. And the buy local campaign, what we're looking at, what we're requesting, as much as we can here, we will do the best we can. But when you go to communicate, there are no newspapers left in Currituck, but of course the Coastland Times, we would advertise to them.
That's understandable.
As much as we can, we would do that. One of the things with it that I see as an initial investment in this campaign is that it needs to have its own branding, just like as you guys have seen the logo and the tagline and everything that we do, constantly that same message. If we're going to make this campaign successful, we're going to have to do the same thing with it. So I really want to bring in a professional company to come in and brand it and really help us get it off the ground. So as much as we can, we'll use locals and to do that.
Mr. Chairman? How about within this partnership, as we were talking about, you were talking to ED, tourism, and the chamber. How do you see the airport fitting into that?
Airport, absolutely. I mean, I see a lot of, I'm really hoping to be able to get in and get all the county departments. And
a lot of synergies.
It's going to actually have to be an entire community project. It's not anything that we could do alone or Peter could do alone. It's going to take everybody, I think, really working together to make that happen.
Mr. Petrie.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm assuming Mr. O'Neill and ED Advisory Board will be part of this campaign. I mean, you'll have some input or
Absolutely. I'm on the tourism board and now the ED board.
Well, I'm talking about the ED board. I'm assuming we'll have some input here on this.
As Peter brings stuff forward, we will certainly be addressing it and be adding our own thoughts and ideas to it as well, and yours. Yeah. I mean, my job is to represent the Board of Commissioners on the ED board.
I have one more question, ma'am. Ask you a question. What is your radius as far how far out from Currituck do you go as far as promoting tourism say up towards north, something like that.
We go as far as international, really, but the target market is New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, D.C.
95 corridor. Yeah, okay. I'm just
that's
my
the primary
personal
focus.
information.
Up to Ohio, we actually are doing a big travel show a couple weeks from now in Ohio coming up, and it's
And probably last year down to the south as well. I mean,
we
with
did.
The, with the oil
For the
spills
first
and
time,
stuff.
we did a AARP expo in Orlando, and it was very successful. And
Ms. Nordstrom, I'd like to see you add in the airport manager and the airport with that. The airport is a gateway to the Outer Banks. We've got lots of exciting things going on in that area with the industrial park. There's a huge event called the Sun and Fun that happens in April that I think is
communicating that with us.
Okay. Good. Jim's doing his job then because it's just imperative to get the operations going and to really make the airport a self-sustaining asset to the county.
Absolutely. He's been working with our events coordinator as well, too.
I believe there's funds that were allocated in the budget specifically for advertising the airport that are already allocated.
It's already there.
So if Mr. Elliott will come forward with y'all's focus, I can promise you her staff will take care of it.
Good staff.
I had one further comment. Almost, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, when we first started this process, and I suggested that we should think Currituck first. Those URLs are available, both of them, currituckfirst.org and currituckfirst.com, if you'd care to use them.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Rohr, who owns those?
It belongs to someone I'm very close to that does a lot of website development. one of my sub entities.
If I could, Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
take a
sir.
step back and answer
Please.
your question about the business list,
Yes, sir.
and a little more information about how to find local vendors. We do have, as Diane mentioned, a combined business list that involves Dun & Bradstreet Harris report that we got from the state. We have the tourism database, the chamber database, and then, as Diane mentioned, just the infill that you get for new businesses, home-based businesses, et cetera. It's not going to be a perfect list because it's constantly changing and moving. As of right now, including all the county offices and a couple double bank branches, we have 655 businesses that we've identified in the county. That may or may not be the total number. I just worked on it a little bit today, always trying to update the email addresses. These days, email is the new gold rather than phone to get in touch with people using different electronic media. That same database that we have that's constantly updated is brought back to a searchable database on our thinkcurrituck.com website. If folks go into the middle of the page, you can click on the Find What I Need. It says Find a Currituck Business. This is something that staff can use to identify procurement opportunities for local goods to purchase for county departments and also for our residents to look and see if something is offered locally, or if you're a business owner in the county to double check and see that you're on that business listing so that we're aware of you. And if you're not, please, you have the ability to register there or contact the county directly to provide that information.
Thank you. One other thing. It seems as though I understand or understood that when we put this contracting expo on, that one of the goals of this thing was going to be developing a database where any and all contracts that come through the county or locally especially would be on the website to where people could go and look at. Is that still in the plan?
Yes, sir. You're referencing, we held a government contracting seminar about state, federal, and local contracting opportunities for businesses in Currituck County on December the 8th. We do have a resource page on thinkcurrituck.com for that specifically, but yes, we do have a specific page on that website with a clickable link that says current bid opportunities that folks can click on, and department heads have been made aware in a separate presentation of this tool so that we can better communicate those opportunities to our local businesses, and that's just right on the front page of thinkcurrituck.com on the left column.
Thank you, sir.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we approve items 1, 2, and 3.
Do you have a second?
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd love to come back to you in a few weeks with a presentation of the Buy Local campaign to use you guys as a sounding board to get it out there and get it promoted. And I do know we have a challenge with Currituck being a rural community. Like Mr. Henley said earlier tonight, we won't get into signs, but like he said tonight, it is hard to communicate things. So And we know we've got a challenge ahead of us, but we'll get to work on it really quickly. And thank you very much again.
Please do. Please come back and update us whenever you think it's appropriate. We'd love to hear it. I would, especially. And I think everybody would.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. This meeting stands